Welcome back. We're diving into chapters 17 through 20 of the Marrow Thieves. And let me tell you, this is where things get really intense. In this part of the story, Frenchie's family faces just its darkest moment yet, a loss that feels like it might just break them. But right from that despair, something incredible happens. A new purpose, a reunion nobody saw coming, and a revelation that completely changes the game. So the action kicks off right away, with this frantic command from Mieg. There's no build-up, no warning. We're just dropped right into the middle of a crisis. A moment where, a single sound could be the difference between life and death. The family is still just reeling from their last tragedy when they're thrown right back into the fire. And this isn't just another chase. This is a head-on confrontation that ends in a sacrifice that's going to shake the very foundation of their family. So you have to remember, it's only been 8 days since they lost Riri, and that grief is still incredibly raw. Mieg's sharp senses suddenly pick up the sound of recruiters, and the description of their breath, fetid. I mean, that one word tells us everything we need to know about these hunters. Their only hope is this beat-up old barn, a pretty fragile sanctuary in the middle of the woods. Inside the barn, the tension is just, you could cut it with a knife. And right at the center of it is Minerva, their elder. She becomes completely still, totally silent, almost like she's preparing for something. And her behavior is really unsettling because, she's their anchor. She's their connection to their history and their language. Her quietness just screams that the danger is very, very real. And then this sound just rips through the silence. The book calls it a sharp metal, angular auditory jabs, cold, dry, biting alarm. It's the sound of being caught. It's the sound of all their worst fears coming true as the recruiters surround them. The recruiters just pour into the barn, and their reason for all this violence is, well, it's chillingly familiar. This is for the good of the nation. I mean, these words are a direct echo of the real-life historical justifications used for the residential school system, right? Framing the theft of culture, family, and even life itself as some kind of patriotic duty. So in all this chaos, Minerva makes a choice. She knows they can't all escape, so she quietly moves the ladder, basically trapping herself, but making sure the rest of her family stays hidden up in that loft. It's just an act of incredible, heartbreaking courage. And this is just a massive blow. I mean, think about it. First they lost their future in Riri, and now they've lost their past in Minerva. Like Frenchie says, they are now without deep roots. And those roots, that's their language, their stories, their history. It's the very thing the schools are designed to destroy. This loss leaves them feeling completely adrift, even wondering if there's any point in going north anymore. But that grief, it quickly turns into something else, into resolve. Frenchie, who's really been growing into a leader, he makes a decision that changes their whole mission. Just surviving isn't enough anymore. They have to fight back. And his declaration, "I'm going after Minerva," that's a huge turning point, not just for him, but for everyone. So this decision, it sets a brand new direction for the family. Their desperate running turns into a focused quest. They're no longer just running from something, now they're running towards something. And almost right away, they find a sign of hope. Carved into a tree are syllabics, their written language. Now, in a world where their culture is being systematically wiped out, this is proof that they are not alone. It's a message from other indigenous people, a sign that community and resistance are still alive out there. In the middle of all this danger and this new purpose, the story gives us these small, beautiful moments of just humanity. Frenchie and Rose find a moment alone. A chance for connection and tenderness that feels like its own active rebellion against how ugly their world is. Now what's really interesting here is what's going on inside Frenchie's head. He finds his courage not in a weapon, not in some grand plan, but in his love for Rose. And this shows us something so important about this world. Love, family, connection. They aren't distractions from the fight, they are the reason for the fight. They are the true source of strength. So just as they find this new hope in this personal connection, their world gets turned upside down again. Their camp is invaded, but this time, the whole encounter is way more complicated than just another attack.
Okay, so the situation is incredibly tense. They're woken up, they're disarmed, they're surrounded. Their first thought is that these people are snitches, other indigenous folks who are working for the recruiters. But then, Mieg spots a clue. The same syllabics they saw on the tree are carved into one of the guard shoes. The strangers are indigenous, and they invite them for breakfast. Friend or foe? It is absolutely impossible to tell.
And then, this one word just shatters all the tension and turns it into pure shock. As the last man emerges from a sweat lodge, a man with a missing lower leg, Frenchie recognizes him. After all these years believing his family was gone forever, he finds his father. This reunion is just this powerful, overwhelming release of emotion after so much trauma and loss. I mean, in a story that's all about families being torn apart, we finally get to see one being put back together. It's this incredible moment of joy and relief, and it's a real testament to how resilient family bonds can be. And we find out this isn't just some random group of survivors. No, it's an organized council, and it's led by Frenchie's dad, Jean. They're actively building a community, building a resistance. The two groups share their stories, their grief, and their hope, and they become one larger family. Now, just when you think things can't get any more emotional, the council reveals they have news. They know what happened to Minerva after she was taken. And let me tell you, it is not the story that anybody was expecting. The thing is, Minerva never surrendered. The recruiters, they just saw an old, compliant woman. What they didn't see was her plan. As they hooked her up to their extraction machine, she started to sing in her language. And that song, her culture, it became a weapon. It overloaded their system, melted their equipment, and burned their schools straight to the ground. Yeah, her power was something their science and their hate just couldn't even begin to understand. The recruiters' own word for it, spooky, it just shows how completely unable they were to get what was happening, the strength of her spirit and her heritage. They could capture her body, sure, but they could not contain her culture. And this just perfectly illustrates the power dynamic here, doesn't it? One elder, armed with nothing but her language and her songs, destroyed one of their main instruments of genocide. Her sacrifice wasn't just a defensive move to save her family, it was a powerful offensive act of resistance. Minerva's story completely flips the script on what resistance looks like. It proves that the very things the recruiters are trying to steal, language, song, culture, the knowledge of the elders, they're not just relics of the past. They are the most powerful weapons they have for the future. So, as we wrap this up, really think about that. What does her act reveal about where true strength really comes from in the world of the Marrow Thieves?